like a second, you know. But I always was a writer. I always write. And so I'm not surprised now that I'm here. But at the same time, I am a little bit surprised because, like, who just wakes up one day and is like, yo, I'm going to be a rapper, and then all of a sudden it starts coming true, and you start, like, traveling and doing things. You know, it's just kind of unreal.
It is. It is. It is. And I think a lot of people, especially independent artists, really want to know what that transition is like. Like, every day we see artists who come out of what seems to be nowhere, and then all of a sudden they're just famous. I mean, like when a lot of people seen Cardi B, when a lot of people seen the Migos, they didn't know the struggle that these artists had to go through in order to get to those levels and make those achievements. So I guess my biggest question to you, Keasha, would be, what was it like making that transition? Better yet, before we even get into that, because I'm gonna come back to it. When you had to stop playing basketball, what was it like to transition from playing basketball into music? Was that something that you felt like, okay, this was always my plan B, and this is just an easy transition for you? Or did you go through a handful of phases before music was just the right call?
Oh, man, a handful of phases. Like I said, like, I had to stop playing basketball when I was 19, you know, so that was years ago. So I went for like 10 years drinking and partying with no sense of direction, you know. Eventually I went back to school and I got my bachelor's degree. So I have a degree. I went to business school. I have a degree in business. So I thought, well, you know what, I'll just find a company and grow within that company and use my business degree. I mean, I went through so many different phases. There was a point in time in my early 20s where I thought I was going to be like a comedian or something. You know what I mean? So it's like I went through a lot of different things, but all in all, it never panned out because it never fit me. It never fit like a glove. But it was like once I actually decided I was going to do music, it felt like Cinderella in the perfect slipper. It felt like I know that I'm born to do this. Like, it's natural for me, but it drives me, and it makes me better, and it makes the people around me better. I know I was created to be in music.
That's amazing. That's an amazing feeling to have.
Yeah.
So
it's
I
really
understand
dope.
that you just recently started making music. You said, or you made your first debut in 2016. You said, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
So from the time you stopped playing basketball to 2016, what was it? I mean, I understand you did a lot. You went to school, so on and so forth. But was there one in particular thing that was like, I'm doing music?
Not like the only thing I could say is like it's literally like God. Like I can't make this up. It was like one day. So what happened was I was supposed to go to Puerto Rico for a vacation in 2015, and I didn't end up going because I felt the Holy Spirit telling me not to go. So I didn't go. So I ended up going to like this young adult conference. So I went to it, and there I met a friend who ended up becoming a good friend, and then like she introduced me to other friends. And so what that did was it triggered me to get back writing. So I started like getting into poetry and stuff like that, but I didn't want to perform it. I was like, yo, I'll write it and somebody else can perform it. Like my friend could perform it, and she was like, nah, I think you're supposed to perform it. So all of a sudden now I had this like writing itch. Like I was writing like crazy. I was writing poem after poem, but my poems were always different. They always kind of sounded like rap, you know? And so I say about 7 months after that, I was like sitting in the living room writing this poem about sex and like people like lying under covers, but they're literally lying under covers, right? And so I was writing this poem about that, and the Holy Spirit was like, rap it. And I was like, nah, I'm not a rapper, you know? And so it kind of just started from there, and then I just did it. I was obedient. I wrote it as if it was a song and no longer a poem. I found a beat and made it into a song. I recorded it, and then like in my house, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna let my friends hear it, and if they think it's whack, then I'm not gonna do this, right? So I let them hear it, and they were like, yo, Key, this is so good. Like, you gotta keep going with this. So it kind of just went off from there, and I just kept going. Next thing you know, I wrote a couple more songs, and I put out Memoirs of Keasha a couple months later.
That's just insane of a story to hear, and so like I said, it's gonna be a little bit of a different interview, so I'm not gonna bypass any of those elephants that you placed directly in the room. So, you said you were writing a poem about sex, and you felt the spirit tell you to rap it.
Yeah.
That's intense. That's crazy. Because of course, I understand that feeling where you just get a feeling that you can't necessarily. So you can't always explain to somebody else, but you just felt that overwhelming passion, like I need to be doing this, and that's amazing. So when you finally got over the jitters to start, performing your own music and rapping your own thing, so on and so forth, where was it that you recall during your first performance that you felt like you really enjoyed the whole concept of the stage life?
Oh no, man! I struggled with stage fright hardcore. That took a while. Like, as soon as I put out Memoirs of Keasha, it just spread like a wildfire. Like, people loved it. Like, locally, I put it out everywhere, online, and people were picking it up online. So people started asking me here locally to perform. And at first, I was like, yeah, no problem. I got off on that stage, honey. I was shaking. I was forgetting my lyrics. I was like, oh, I can't do this. So I wanted to quit. I didn't want to do music anymore after that because I was like, I can't do this. I was really afraid of the stage, but, the Lord just kept telling me to do it. And not only that, I just felt like it was something I had to do. Like, I had to try to beat this fear. So, like, every day I would be in my house practicing my songs. I would watch other performers and see how, like, they perform. And I started to take it really, really serious. And eventually, over time, I beat that fear. And now I love it. So I wouldn't say until about 2018 is when I realized, oh no, I got this. Like, I can perform really well. I'm a great performer. And like I said, like I'm made for this stage. So, but it took a while. It took a while for me to get there. At first, I hated it. I hated it because I was afraid of it.
So how did you overcome that fear of being on stage? This is not something that you enjoy because it made you feel uneasy, and then you pushed through it. Did you push through because you felt like, is this something that you had to be doing? You felt like this is a calling, so you got to get over it?
Yeah, it was definitely a calling. It was like, okay, because it was like, even though I wanted to run, it was at the same time, it was like, I'm supposed to be here. So it was literally through practice, practicing day in and day out, a lot of praying, a lot of fasting, a lot of just doing it. You know what I mean? Like, you got to just, if you want to face fear and you want to beat something, you just got to do it. You can't run from it. You can't avoid it. You can't beat around the bush. You just got to do it. And as you're in it and you're doing it more and more and more, you get more comfortable and you begin to see, like, you had nothing to fear in the first place. You know what I mean? And not only that, I felt equipped to do it. You know what I mean? Like I said, I became more prayerful and I began to fast more and I began to, like, really rely on my faith to get me through it. And next thing you know, I'm here,
That's amazing. I know a lot of independent artists go through that time frame in which they feel like they're not equipped, and that's a lot of the time what makes people feel like they want to give up. It gets difficult.
Mm-hmm.
You're definitely out there by yourself. You got to go through that learning curve, and a lot of people quit at that particular point in time. That's great to know that you were able to muster through it. Not only were you able to, but look at what followed on the other side. It's amazing that the accolades that you've achieved in such a short period of time. 2 years is not much when it comes to a rap career. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of artists are 10 years in before they get an opportunity to be on the forefront. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. That's why I trip out every day.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's definitely a huge blessing. So, in the time now that we talked about what it was like at the very beginning. We talked about what it was like to to hit that middle ground. But now that you are where you are, because obviously there's still higher to go. But right now, I mean, you're
exactly.
You're really high up there right now in concept of an independent artist. So how does it feel to be where you are? You've done radio interviews. You got your music played on actual FM radio stations in a handful of different places. People are actually looking up to you. You have a physical fan base. People come out to see. Like, how does that feel in comparison to those days in which you were scared to get on stage?
Man, it feels amazing. Like, I'm constantly, like, kind of doing a then and now. One, I want to remain humble, I don't ever want to just, like, forget where I came from, because I feel like once you do that, you lose it all. And so I just feel really grateful, you know what I mean? And I feel undeserving. I've done a lot of things that I'm not proud of in my life, so the fact that it led me to this moment, to where I can be on, this radio interview, and, I have a performance tonight at the Moore Theater, and I have another performance on Thursday. It's like, and I'm starting to travel more this year. So it's like, for me, when you're in the moment of trying to build something, no one's rocking with you. Everyone laughed at me in so many words that I was doing this in the beginning. You know what I mean? People were not for what I was trying to do. It wasn't like they were being rude. They just, rappers come a dime a dozen, right? So what makes you different? So
right.
People just weren't, you kind of got to pay your dues a little bit. You know what I mean? So there were days when I would have eviction notices on my door because I went and just did studio time or put money into promotion. And I didn't know, and I would be eating noodles and beans because I believed in what I was doing. And so, and you think you're crazy, like people around you think you're crazy for doing it, and you even think you're crazy, like, why am I doing this? But it's like a fire in your bones, you know what I mean? Like, you got to do it. I'd much rather do it and fail than to not try at all, right? So when I look back and I see those days, I'm like, man, it was worth it. It was so worth it. And that's not going to be everybody's story. Sometimes you're just not meant to be a rapper. But there are some people that you are. This is what you were supposed to do. It's just going to be hard to get there because everyone wants to do it.
That's very true. It's a very saturated field, that a lot of people are playing in. It's just, I'm not even sure. That's a hell of a statement. Everybody's not meant to be a rapper. Some people out here trying their absolute hardest to do something that is just not their calling. But, you can't knock the hustle. If they try, they try. But I think it's great that you push that hard. And you said that you're traveling more this year. Like, you said that so nonchalant, like it's not still January. That's amazing. Those are big ups. People all over the place are looking for that opportunity. So I got to ask you, of course, this is more of a typical question, but what would you, if you were talking to yourself, I'm gonna put it to you this way: if you were talking to yourself at that point in time when you say people were laughing at you in so many words, looking back, what advice would you give your old self?
I guess it would just be stay faithful. Stay faithful. I know it's hard, and I know you can't see it, but stay faithful. And like you said, I have so much, like, this isn't the pinnacle of my career. Like, I got a long way.
Right.
I'm further than I was, but I still have to tell myself day in and day out, stay faithful. It's going to come. It's coming. It's already, like, look how far you've come in such a short period of time. Stay faithful. So, like, that's what I'm always telling myself, of just, like, don't focus on what you see right now. Have faith. If you don't have faith, you're not going to make it. And that's with anything. Like, not just in music, that's in anything. If you have goals or dreams or vision, if you have been called to do something that is bigger than yourself, that can truly affect the world, you're going to have a lot of opposition out there that wants to stop you. And so the only thing you have, you're not going to have the money. You're not going to have all the things that you're going to, because you're like building towards that. So the only thing you have is your faith. And if you do not build your faith up and remain and stay loyal to your faith, you're going to fail. You have to stay faithful.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I completely agree. I know a lot of people fall off because they fear this or they're afraid of that or they don't know this. But in reality, it's just like you said, it's faithful. You got to be faithful. You got to at least have faith in yourself to believe that you can achieve these things that you want to achieve. So I completely